Good evening, you scurvy dogs. Welcome to this week's episode of Video Ferox, where tonight we take to the high seas to watch Jotunhagen Windsurfen Skredjek. This is The Last Shark by Enzo Castellari. And why don't we just let the trailer do the talking for us?
Oh, little Caroline, I'm feeling so lonely. I see you as the sun is going down.
Port Harbor is a quiet summer resort with its pleasure boat enthusiasts, skin divers, and windsurfers. It may be one of the most peaceful places on earth. But in the world of blackness, beneath these waves, there are no days, no nights, no seasons, only endless existence. And a being whose only thought since the beginning of time is his ravenous desire to feed.
Get on shore! Everyone out of the water!
Port Harbor has been invaded by the ultimate predator.
Coming right at us!
A beast against which there is no defense. Nature's perfect killing machine. The great white shark. Great White. The terror begins March 5th.
Alrighty, welcome back from the trailer to Great White, aka The Last Shark, aka Ultimo Squallo by Enzo Castellari. So Ian, we talked a little bit before we rolled tape. Did you like the movie?
How did I put it? I said, The Last Shark is the last shark movie I'm ever going to watch.
I take it you fucking hated it?
It's not that I hated it, I'm just very disappointed. I'm gonna go watch Jaws.
Obviously, if you're going to watch a shark movie, go watch Jaws.
Yeah.
But if you're going to watch an off-brand Jaws, okay, Jaws 2. Okay, so if you're not going to watch Jaws and Jaws 2, then you're going to want to watch, okay, Piranha. So if you want the fourth movie, The Last Shark is the one you want to watch.
I'd tell you to go watch Piranha before watching Last Shark. But Last Shark's not a bad option.
I had the pleasure to watch this movie back in '81 when it was in the theater for about a week and a half before Universal said, you knock that shit off. And they cease and desist this movie into oblivion.
Yeah.
So I had the chance to watch it. I was probably, about maybe 13, 14, and I fucking loved this movie. It was the shiznit. 40 years on, I actually still appreciate the movie. It's still, I think, one of the best Jaws knockoffs.
I'm kind of, I'm in that, it's too heavy, I can't lift my thumb. I'm trying.
I think it's fun. I think it's goofy. Oh, yes, no, it's absolutely terrible. But I've always liked Enzo Castellari stuff. I liked Inglourious Bastards. I liked Eagles Over London. I liked his Mad Max rip-off movies. He does good stuff.
Yeah, he does.
So, all right, so you're kind of lukewarm on it. I'm much more enthusiastic on it. Why don't we just go right to the spoiler section then, shall we?
To serve men, it's a cookbook.
Okay, if you hadn't got it by the trailer and if you hadn't got it by our discourse in the Did We Like It section, this movie is essentially Jaws. Pretty much a note-for-note remake of Jaws and with a sprinkling of Jaws too.
Yeah, very much so.
You have your lead, James Franciscus, who you will know probably from Beneath the Planet of the Apes. That's his most famous
pretty
movie.
much, and the reason why he was in that is because of his striking resemblance to Charlton Heston.
Here is the audacity of this movie, where our Chief Brody analog, his name is Peter Benton, and absolutely not Peter Benchley, the original author of Jaws, if you don't know that.
Yeah.
And he is a horror writer, I guess. He's some sort of a fiction writer of some sort.
Yeah.
He's not the sheriff of the town, but he is essentially the Chief Brody of the piece.
He is a combination. He's sort of like Hooper and Brody as one character. and he knows something about sharks, but he's no expert. So he knows enough to carry the plot.
He also happens to be really good friends with the Quint analog, who is played by
Vic Morrow.
Vic Morrow, who you'll know from, oh God, he was in Orca. He was in the Twilight Zone movie where he got decapitated by a helicopter in real life, not in the movie.
Yeah, so that segment of the film isn't there.
That means he comes into the movie a lot earlier than Quint does. Quint comes into the movie about halfway through. Here, he's from the get-go.
Yeah, he's in there right at the beginning.
And, of course, there's the Mayor Vaughn analog, who is this... not a mayor, but he's kind of...
He is the mayor, but he's running for governor.
Oh, right. There's this upcoming regatta, this sailboard regatta thing, which is the bit they're lifting from Jaws 2. And he doesn't want to cancel it because it would affect his political standing.
The whole thing with the regatta is about how he is... Here, I'm the mayor. Look at my beautiful town and this regatta, and I'm doing this for my town. Imagine what I could be for the state. I mean, it's that kind of sales pitch.
So the interesting spin on the Mayor Vaughn of this piece is that, unlike the real Mayor Vaughn, who he had the town's best interest in heart, but he wanted to bury the whole Jaws thing deep underground. Here, our Vaughn, he is very proactive in okay, let's secure the regatta. We're not going to cancel it, but we're going to put out like netting. We're going to have some spotters. We're going to actually be proactive. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on essentially a road character.
The earnest intent to not completely just blow it all off like it's nothing. Yes, he acknowledged that it's a problem, and I think, how did he put it? It's, something, the security of it all. He really invested in securing it so that it would be safe.
And of course, because, we wouldn't have a plot if we didn't have a shark, the security doesn't work. The shark just like blows right through the fence.
I mean, you can see it in the film when you watch it. They construct something that would keep regular sharks out.
But not a monster killer shark is what we're dealing with here. And the other thing that they rip off from Jaws that is completely blatant, in that, being it's an Italian movie, it's a significantly lower budget than what Jaws had. And their shark, they didn't really care about the shark looking like ass, but they didn't have the money to do it all the time. So they shamelessly ripped off the yellow barrel from the Orca. That they harpooned the shark, and that's how you could tell the shark was in the scene.
Yeah,
they kind of did that. They did a buoy float thing, this kind of orange buoy thing.
Yeah,
and so that was what was chasing people around.
There's a lot of innovative camera work. I really like. I mean, the cinematography in this film is great. It's not bad.
Well, that's one of Castellari's strengths. If you go back and watch like The Inglourious Bastards, there's a lot of really clever camera work in that movie.
Yeah.
So I'm not shocked that he managed to land that here.
I'm going to be saying this periodically, the lack of money shots. But there is a money shot in the opening sequence of the film, the opening title sequence, and there's this guy out there showing that he's really proficient on a frickin' sailboard. He's no slouch. He's doing a great job. Do. And then he's going great, he's going great, he's going great. There's a few underwater shots, going great. And then suddenly the back half of his board is gone.
I loved how they handled doing the shark attacks in the movie, where they would basically took a giant air cannon and put it under the water, and there's just this explosion of water, and like the dude flies up in the air, well, the dummy flies up into the air, and like the sailboard flies up in the air. It's a really effective way to get across the power of the beast without showing the power of the beast.
Yes. There's a money shot, and then there's a lack of a money shot. So in the opening title sequence where this kid is out there on that sailboard, and the sailboard gets bitten in half, and he's like, oh shit, and then he falls off and he's in the water, and underwater shot, kicking of legs, and then he's above water and he's pulled under, and there's a static shot of he doesn't come back up, and the water doesn't turn red. That's why I'm like, God damn it, wasted. I mean, give me the water, give me red water. Get me red in the...
And that's what this movie desperately needed to do, is that, okay, we've seen a lot of Italian movies recently, so we're more acclimatized to them doing crazy shit. You know, all of a sudden the eyes start bleeding and she starts spitting her guts up out of her mouth. Crazy shit like that. This movie does not do that. I would have loved to have, your Quint get eaten and like explosions of blood out of it. It's not just what happened to Robert Shaw, but I mean, just absolutely go gonzo with it. And the movie doesn't really do that. The movie doesn't have a lot of blood in it, which is just weird for an Italian movie.
There's moments where you get what is a money shot, like when the boat gets towed back in. Now, there's a demonstration that there's some money in the production, because that's a Coast Guard boat, that's a Coast Guard helicopter. And the Coast Guard helicopter is in the movie not once, twice. It's in there several times. They're not cheap. Even in the 80s, when you go to utilize a real service like that, they want money. So that might be where his money went. He had to pay the Coast Guard for their appearances in the film. But anyway, that boat gets towed in, and obviously the bottom of the boat, and it's listing to one side because the shark took a bite out of it. And what's Vic Morrow's character?
Quint.
The Quint of the movie. He's sitting there, and the guy, what was the one guy? It wasn't the mayor. The guy obviously has looked at the boat, seen something, and he comes tearing out of there. Ah! He just goes running off down the dock. And everyone's like, what the hell happened? What did he see? And so you go in there, and there's this nice camera shot, and Vic Morrow, Quint is sitting there looking at something. And everyone was like, what? And he moves this thing aside, and there's an arm.
Yeah, and he says something to the effect of, look what this beast did. My God, this is terrible, or something like that. It's like just an arm.
And it's not a badly done severed arm.
Before we start praising the special effects in this movie too much, let us address the 800-pound elephant in the room where the shark looks like complete ass.
Yes, it does.
It's either going to be stock footage, which doesn't actually match anything that's going on the screen.
Because the stock footage of actual footage of real sharks, what they use is a shark that is a quarter of the size of what they're claiming this thing is supposed to be, which is 30 feet long.
Now, if we're going to be fair, in the water where you don't have anything compared to the scale, it's easy to say, okay, that's really a 30-foot shark. But the problem is, it's very clear that it's not consistently the same shark and the same size.
Right.
Okay, so the stock footage doesn't match anything at all. Then occasionally we get moments of a toy shark where like the kids who go out to get vengeance on the shark and they steal the mayor's boat and they're out there and the shark like starts messing with the propellers so they get stranded.
Yeah.
The scene where it's messing with the propellers and gets caught up in the gears, it looks like a toy shark. It looks like a rubber shark, literally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the piece de resistance, the giant hand puppet. You know, it's probably, one of the 8-foot sized heads that just kind of pops up out of the water, and then back into the water.
Yeah.
It looks like crap.
But they do use it to great effect in a few spots. It's disappointing in places, largely because if you've seen Jaws, you have a benchmark. And this is like, it's like almost to the bench. So the mayor, after the kids go out on his boat and they get eaten and dragged back into shore. And the girl survives, which I was happy about.
And anyway, so the mayor, realizing that his prospects for being governor are rapidly being fucked by this monster, he gets in his private helicopter and flies out to chase the monster down. And he hangs this big slab of beef outside of the helicopter, dangles it over the edge, attracts the shark. He says he gets his machine gun, bap, 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 and then falls out of the helicopter and then has to climb back in and gets eaten.
You'd think the helicopter pilot would be like, you know what? This is fucked. I'm getting out of here. No, he continues to sit right there. And the shark says, I haven't had a helicopter today. And proceeds to nab the helicopter. It's done well enough that if you're not savvy, as in you've seen enough instances where a remote control craft, which is infinitely smaller, is used in place of a full size, they did a good job. this remote control helicopter that they're using looks great. It looks almost identical to the real thing. So you don't get that disconnect that sometimes happens. But the shark out of the water gets the skid and pulls the copter into the water. And the thing that I appreciated with how they dumbed it, how they masked it to keep it a bit more on the realistic side, is they cut. It's a quick chop edit of the shark getting the skid of the helicopter, and then it cuts to an underwater view of the copter pulled underwater. So it was like, this is done well.
Well, let's go back to the sailboard regatta about halfway through the movie. That sequence is actually pretty well staged. I mean, you don't see any gore. You don't actually see that she's a shark. It's just that orange buoy thing. But it's pretty tight. It's actually kind of suspenseful, sort of. It's an actually well done sequence.
Yeah.
And also the climax of the movie. So after the mayor's gotten eaten and after everything's falling apart, and they try and lure the shark out, and there's some people on the dock, and they've got the shark hunter there, and then the shark just grabs the dock and just starts towing it out to sea. That's actually
That's familiar.
Yeah, that's familiar. Fine. Boy, it's not ripping off Jaws or Jaws 2 at all.
Yeah.
But that sequence is also pretty well staged. I liked that Chief Brody's wife is in danger.
Yes.
So she actually has something to do other than look kind of pensive out at the sea as Brody sails off on the Orca. I like that the shark hunter, he's got this big rifle that he's making a big deal out of, and the first thing that happens is the shark bumps the dock and he drops into the water and it never shows up ever again. So, Deus Ex Machina, gone. And it's just, okay, yeah, you see a lot of the shark, and the shark looks like crap, but it's cut really well and effectively, so it doesn't look terrible.
It doesn't look terrible. But for me, I kept finding myself going, saw that coming. Oh, shock of shock, he dropped the gun. I mean, it just, to me, it was I just saw everything happening before it happened. So I had no suspense buildup. I had no tension. I had no, I didn't feel any sort of, when anything bad happened. So in that regard, even after having watched the first Jaws, the number of times that I've seen it, I still get that apprehension, that tension. I mean, in the original Jaws, when Hooper and Brody and Quint are first really getting together and talking, and they're in Quint's shed, and you got the shark jaws all over.
You got counting money hands in that scene.
Yeah, and there's tension. You can feel this tension. In that, there's no shark, and no one's in any danger, but you feel you can feel it building in a scene like that. That kind of happening doesn't happen anywhere in this film, and that's why I'm so disappointed by it.
I mean, yes, Vic Morrow is a pretty good actor, at least of the stuff I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of his work, but he doesn't have a Indianapolis scene. He doesn't have that moment that absolutely just codifies the entire movie.
Yeah.
He has a couple of light brushes up against it, like when he has when the town has decided we have to do something about the shark. He has I'll bring you the head, the tail, the whole thing for $5,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
He has that scene, but it doesn't have the gravitas that Robert Shaw brings to the table.
Yeah. The thing with it is I think I mentioned this to you earlier, where to me it really felt like he was just reading cue cards. The character is supposed to be a older man with a world-traveled weariness and the wisdom of his travels. So that's what you're supposed to be getting, like what you get with Quint. And while it's touched upon in the first Jaws about why Quint has this vindictive hatred of sharks, there's nothing to make Vic Morrow's character
And let's face it, James Franciscus is not Roy Scheider. He's not a terrible actor.
He's not a terrible actor. One of the things that Franciscus had going for him is the fact that he was a very attractive masculine guy. And that's what really got him into a majority of the movies he was in. Wasn't it? Yes, he could do. He had a talent. I mean, there are many actors in Hollywood who were like him. They were charismatic. They had screen presence. Were they real serious actors where they could seriously become completely different people? No, but they were there. He was amongst that crowd. The John Wayne, Jack Nicholson. I can almost say Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks has demonstrated over the years that he actually has some diversity in his ability.
Early Tom Hanks.
That's what Franciscus is. And here, it was like he was there as the money. He was a money shot. The guy hired him. He gets hired for this role because they know people are going to know who he is, like Planet of the Apes. They know him. Now, Vic Morrow was truly a B movie actor. The bulk of his work is television. He was on Fantasy Island, Love Boat, Chips. He was the star of a TV series called Combat, which was a World War II military television series. Vic Morrow is also another selling point to this. James Franciscus, Vic Morrow. Woo! And I got let down.
On paper, that should be a decent combo. I mean, they're both at least second-tier actors. They should be decent enough on paper. It's just that I don't know if it's the script that doesn't support them.
It could be that.
It might be. I know what the problem might be, in that we've seen this happen a ton of times in Italian movies where they shoot in whatever language they do. It's MOS. And so you have one actor doing his lines in English, you have another actor doing it in Italian, another actor doing it in whatever, in Spanish.
Yeah.
And then they dub it all in later. And you have noise going on in the background, you have the director shouting at people in the background. So maybe that's what's going on here, is that's what's happening.
That could be it. Neither of them may have had the real experience of having ever dealt with that before. Because going through a production and shooting a scene and having to get in, you're in character and you're doing you're pulling your own energy to present your dialogue in the way that, and the director's constantly yammering at you at the same time. That may have thrown him off.
Not everybody can be a Lee Van Cleef who adapted like that. He's like, yes. I can do this, no problem.
Yeah. What I'll say is that it is Vic Morrow's voice. You are hearing it. James Franciscus. It's his voice. All of the American actors, I really seriously believe they all voiced themselves. They all do a great job. Vic Morrow's accent.
Oh, his 100% authentic accent of from Ireland?
It's not bad.
I disagree.
Well, let me put it to you this way. It's not that horrible Irish brogue.
Okay, this is fair.
It's not that. It's not that this is obviously fake Irish brogue. It's done with enough where you can, you're not distracted by the fakeness of it. That's what I mean by it's done well. There are times when you've seen a movie where there's somebody has to do a foreign accent, and it's like the fakeness of it is distracting. I want to touch briefly on a bit that had a lot of gravitas.
Sure.
Where Franciscus gets to demonstrate that he is an actor, and he's out there on that dock that everyone was on, and they've been, the people fell off of it and died. People were saved from it, but he's on the dock. And Vic Morrow's character, the Quint of the movie, turns up and he pulls him up onto the raft. And there's that, the way he presents it is like, I've got him, he's dead. And you can see the anguish, I'm out here with this fucking shark. He's dead. What the fuck am I going to do? And then the shark shows up. And I'm like, for as shit looking as this shark has been, this sequence isn't bad. It's just The shark comes up out of the water and sort of sits at that static distance.
When I say hand puppet, I'm being extremely generous. That it's just kind of a lump of like fiberglass, almost certainly, just kind of sitting out there.
Yeah. Is this entire sequence, he's got the remote control. He's had it in his hand the whole goddamn time.
Oh, because Quint has this dynamite belt on that he was going to throw at the shark and they were going to blow him up. But he died before he could throw at the shark.
So the shark gets him and is off a bit, and he's just, oh yeah. And there's just the way the scene is done. It's like the frustration and,
oh, wait a minute.
Holy fuck.
The movie does occasionally get clever like that.
Yeah.
Whether by purpose or by accident, we don't know. But I like that touch.
Yeah, I can't remember if I'm suddenly drawing a blank, but and boom. Throughout the movie, there are plenty of instances where it does a decent job. My real disappointment has been that the money shots are lacking.
Sounds good to me.
At least this one, it wasn't one of the ones where you turned around and go from a thumbs up to a meh.
No, I legitimately enjoy this movie. I actually legitimately enjoy it.
I can't actually refute any of the reasons you give for liking it.
All right. There you go then. That's an episode. Smile, you son of a bitch. Next week, we're going to be watching a movie that is so lazy that it couldn't be bothered to rip off Jaws. Oh no, it had to rip off The Last Shark. We're going to be watching Bruno Mattei's Jaws 5. So be sure to tune in for that. And then, please drop us an email. thevideonastyproject@gmail.com is the address. And until you sink your teeth into the next week's episode, be sure to stay evil.